Welcome back to Farming Simulator 22, and today we're going to talk about horses, specifically that stuff. In FS19, horses didn't produce manure until we got the horse extension from the farming agency. But if, like me, you enjoy looking at the XML of the game, you might have spotted the bit that I'm going to flash up on the screen now, which is that in the horse placeables, they have something that mentions manure. If you watched my most profitable animals video on horses, you will have seen that I emailed Giants to ask them whether horses should produce manure because of that, and they haven't answered me. So, reminded by one of the guys on my Discord yesterday, I did some testing and then I did some digging, and today we're going to show how to get manure from horses. Before we get stuck into that, if you're not already, click the subscribe button, turn on notifications. I'll let you decide later whether you like the video or whether you want to comment. So, you need to buy some horses. I'm just going to buy one horse so you can see how much manure a horse produces. And I have the horse helper on, so it will be being ridden. And we'll give it some food, and then we're going to put down a manure pit, and we'll see if we get manure from horses. I've got some straw handy because they do take straw, and we'll look at whether it's worth putting straw in later on in the video. And in fact, there might be an entire separate video about whether it's worth using straw with animals. I just did a farm sim guy and forgot to select the trailer. Let's just see. Yeah, that should be enough oats. I guess the other thing is, if you're new to using horses, you don't just empty in oats until the enclosure is full, because that won't leave you any room to put in hay. So we'll just grab a couple of bales of hay and get those put in. And then we need to put down a manure pit, and we'll give them some straw, because you need straw for manure, right? Maybe. So we'll give them some straw as well, and then we will put down our manure pit, fast forward time a little bit, and we'll see what happens. Yep, so that's now full. So take these out of the way, and we'll put a bit of straw in, and then we will, as I just said, put it in the manure pit and fast forward time. So the horse helper is going to take care of riding the horse for us. Handily with the horse enclosures, they have a bale trigger for straw, so we don't have to use a straw blower, which is quite handy because they don't use very much, so you can just leave a bale sat in here. And they are now for they. She, called Crystal, because eventually I'll have foals. That's got hay. Right, so we want a silo, and we want a manure pit. And we see that if we have an extension, it says it needs to be placed next to a barn, which is a hint. If we have a manure pit, it will let us put it down. So we'll put it about here. And then we will fast forward time and see if we get any manure. So we'll go across, and no manure. So the reason we don't get manure is there is a tiny bit of code missing from the XML for the animal places. So placeables. So this horse pen is actually one that I have copied out of the base game. using the video that I've got very early on about how to make a mod from base game stuff. So we're going to go and have a look at what we need to do to make that produce manure. So we are, as usual for one of these videos recently, in our mods folder, and here we have the horse barn medium, which is the copy I have created of the base game horse barn. If you play multiplayer, you probably want to use a copy, or if you're on Calmston, for example, you could do this edit to the horse stable on Calmston. If you don't play multiplayer, you could just make this edit to the base game placeables. So we are going to edit the XML file, horse barn medium, which is annoyingly opened on my other screen. So what we need to do is scroll down to past all the stuff about doors. So you can see, as I mentioned earlier, there is the bit about manure being produced. And the bit that's missing is in the unloading station. And what we need to do, and I'll put this text in the pinned comment below, is we need to add another unload trigger for manure. We need to change supports extension to true. And we need to add in the storage radius. Now, the number you use for this will depend on what kind of pen you're using. So if you're using one of the ones like I'm using, a value like 75, something like that, is probably okay. If you're doing it on Calmston, you might want a bigger number so that you can put the pit further away, so it's not in the nav mesh for the horses and it's not going to walk over the horses. And that's it. That's all that was missing. So if we now close that and save it, and close Notepad, and then we want to update the archive, and we'll reload the game and see what happens. So we're back here on Erlengratt, having reloaded with the edit to hopefully produce horse manure. So if we go and stand over here, speed up time. Sorry about that, just threw my mouse across the desk. In fact, actually, we'll just skip a day and see what happens, and hope that I typed everything in right. Again, it was a long night here in Erlengratt. I guess I am sleeping from 8 AM through to 8 AM. And there you'll see we have a tiny amount of manure coming from our one horse. So yes, horses are set up to produce manure in the game. What's missing is the settings in the placeable to actually allow it to spawn the manure in the manure pit. Now you could use the pile of manure that I used in my Calmston manure video, and you could maybe stick it in the middle of the pen and you have to muck out the horse pen. They don't produce a lot of manure, so this is a couple of month old horse now, and it produced 34 litres in a day. You will, once the horses are mature, per horse you'll get about 200 litres a day. I tried playing around with the manure factor because I thought that might give us more manure, but it doesn't. So you're looking at a small amount of manure from each horse per day, but we've got horse manure. Now your next question might be, does straw matter? So we're going to have a look at that. So I'm going to reload back to the previous day. We'll clear the straw out and we'll see what happens. Quick quit out of the game, cleared out the straw from the XML, got rid of the straw bales, and our horse now has no straw bedding. So let's jump through the night and we'll see what happens. And it's morning, and I'm going to have edited out the night time, and we have the same amount of manure. So it doesn't matter if you put straw in or not. You still get the same amount of manure, and I have tested this quite a bit, and yeah, it makes no difference. So if we go forwards another day, we'll get slightly more manure because the horse is getting a month older. I say going forward today, we're going forward a month. But the horse is getting slightly older, so we'll get slightly more up to a peak at around 18 months, I think it is. One of the guys on Discord did some testing as well. Might be a year, might be 18 months. But yeah, so we've got a little bit more. Got 40 odd litres at a time. Now, this is not going to be enough manure that you are going to be happily fertilising the whole map with manure, but it's a little bit extra. I know you have to pay for the manure pit, but if you use the pile of manure, that's really cheap. And I'll link that in the description as well. So yeah, horses produce manure. If you're interested, there's some cool stuff to do with cows and straw, and I could make a video on that if you want. So if you do, leave me a comment below. If you've enjoyed this or found it useful, leave me a like. The XML will be in the pinned comment below, and I'll put the link to the pile of manure from King Mods on there. And if you want a UK style geo, my first ever mod is on King Mods, which is basically a link to my video about how to do it and a link to the media file to download it. So if you've seen it already in the video, you don't need to worry. That's it. Catch you next time.